Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me again today. Today, we're going to be discussing Romans, a chapter in Romans, chapter 8, and how the Jehovah's Witness leaders claim that only they live and are guided by God's Spirit. All the other ones, all the great crowd, myself included, and all you witnesses that are listening to this broadcast, you guys are still living in sin, and you guys are still manipulated and guided by sinly desires and the spirit of the world. We don't have God's Spirit. We have the spirit of Satan. And yeah, it's true. And I'll show you exactly what I mean, because this is exactly what the Jehovah's Witness leaders teach us. Okay, so if nothing else, let's go ahead and get into it here. And as you can see, I'm back on jw.org. We're going to use their New World Translation. Most recent one, we're going to go to the Bible here, and we're going to go to Romans. Let's go to Romans chapter 8. Now notice, we're going to start with 1. We're going to read up to 17. Therefore, those in union with Christ Jesus have no condemnation. Take note of that. You're not in union with Christ Jesus, okay? So you are condemned. I'm condemned, okay? Let's keep that in mind. For the law of the Spirit that gives life in union with Christ Jesus has set you free. Okay. Again, remember, and keep this in mind, my brothers and sisters and friends. The majority of the New Testament was not written for us. It was written for the anointed, remember? It doesn't really apply to us, only by extension. Keep that in mind, okay? So this is basically what our status is, according to the Jehovah's Witness leaders, of course. And if you're studying with the Jehovah's Witnesses, you may want to reconsider. I mean, just reconsider, because this is going to be your label, okay? For the law of the Spirit life gives life in union with Christ Jesus has set you free. You are not free. I am not free from the law of sin and of death, okay? And that's another thing. Christ really did not come and die for us, for the majority of the world. He only came and died for the 144,000. We are somehow in there by extension, but it's really not applicable to us, and you'll see why. 3, what the law, the Messianic law, was incapable of doing because it was weak through the flesh, God did by sending his own son. Okay, I get that. Remember when Christ came, he fulfilled the Messianic law, and he ended it when he died. In the likeness of sinful flesh, he came as a human, but he was part human, part divine. Well, he never really gave up his divinity, but that's another topic. And concerning sin, condemning sin in the flesh, okay? So that the righteous requirement of the law might be fulfilled in us. This us is not you or me. This is actually just the anointed, the so-called 144,000, or the governing body leaders, okay? Jehovah's Witness leaders, who, because only they, okay, walk according to the Spirit. This is us right here, who walk, this is them actually, not according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit. See, we are not walking in the Spirit. No, it's not me saying. This is what we were taught. Okay, this is how I was taught. So if you have an argument, you have to really take it up with the Jehovah's Witness leaders, the leaders, because this is how we were taught. We are still walking in the flesh. We're not walking according to the Spirit. Okay, so therefore, For those, look at 5, for those who live according to the flesh set their minds on things of the flesh. That's us. But those who live according to the Spirit on the things of the Spirit. That's the anointed, the Jehovah's Witness leaders. For setting the mind on the flesh means death, but setting the mind on the Spirit means life and peace. Because setting the mind on the flesh means enmity with God. For it is not in subjection to the law of God, nor in fact can it be. Enmity with God is you're an enemy. Okay? So we are basically still enemies with God. Okay? 8. So those who are in harmony with the flesh cannot please God. Okay? We can never please God. Doesn't matter that Christ came and died, we still can't please him because we don't have God's Spirit. It's that simple. You either have God's Spirit or you don't. It's, it's one or the other. 9. However, you are in harmony not with the flesh, but with the Spirit. Remember, this is not applicable to us, the great crowd. This is only applicable to the so-called 144,000, the anointed. Okay? It is only them that are not in harmony with the flesh, but with the Spirit. And here, look at 9. If God's Spirit truly dwells in you. But if anyone does not have Christ's Spirit, this person does not belong to him. There's only one Spirit. There isn't two spirits. And this is not talking about Christ's body spirit. Like someone would say, oh, let me lift up your spirits. Oh, you have your spirit is down. You need to liven up and be happier. No, it's not talking about that kind of spirit. It's talking about God's Spirit. God's Spirit, Christ the Spirit, okay? It's the same thing. It's only one Spirit, okay? 10. But if Christ is in union with you, or in you, because Christ said that him and the Father would come and live with us within our bodies, okay? So that way they could kill within our body the sin, okay, and give us the Spirit, which is life because of righteousness, okay? 11. If now the Spirit of him who raised up Jesus from the dead dwells in you, the Father, the one who raised up Christ Jesus from the dead will also make your mortal bodies alive. This means that we are alive because we have God's Spirit. See, it says through his Spirit that resides in you. Okay. 12. So then, brothers, we are under obligation not to the flesh to live according to the flesh, for if you live according to the flesh, you are sure to die. But if you put the practices of the body to death by the Spirit, you will live. See, you can't put the practices of the body to death, like the sinful things that attract us. You can't put them physically away. You can do as much field service, as much commenting, as much pioneering, as much missionary work, as much attending assemblies, participating in assemblies, building kingdom halls, donating contributions of your time, upkeeping the kingdom halls, doing book studies, teaching others, gaining privileges in the congregation. It doesn't matter. You can do all of those things and you will never be able to put the practices of sin in your body to death unless it's by the Spirit, like it says here. And basically, that's what the Jehovah's Witness leaders are saying. You cannot do this ever because you don't have God's Spirit. Now, I know of hundreds of brothers that claim they have seen, and I've heard experiences, I've read, I've seen them at assemblies everywhere, of brothers saying, well, I felt Jehovah's hand with me, and I felt that Jehovah helped me, and I know God was guiding me. Yet these people are not anointed. So how is that possible? How is it that they had God's Spirit and yet they're not anointed? Now you might be saying, well, it's one thing to have the Spirit and another thing to be called. Just so you know, God's Spirit will not inhabit our temple, which is the body, if he doesn't approve of you. It's that simple. God will not inhabit you, will not guide you. You will not see him in your life if he doesn't approve of you. So what spirit was guiding you if you're a Jehovah's Witness? You have to ask yourself that. 14, notice this, for all who are led by God's Spirit are indeed God's sons. Again, if you have been led as a Jehovah's Witness by the Spirit of God, by Jehovah's Spirit, you are a son of God. Thereby you are anointed. 15, for you did not receive a spirit of slavery causing fear again, but you received a spirit of adoption as sons, by which spirit we cry out, Abba, Father. The Spirit itself bears witness with our spirit that we are God's children. If you felt the Spirit, God's Jehovah's Spirit in your life, then naturally you're God's children. If you didn't, if you thought that was God's Spirit, then according to the Jehovah's Witness leaders, the governing body, the discreet slave, that wasn't God's Spirit then that you felt, because there was no way that he would inhabit you and guide you unless you were a son of God. And you're not anointed, are you? Not according to the Jehovah's Witness leaders. You're not anointed. So there's no way you could have God's Spirit within you. You see that? 17, if then we are children, we are also heirs, heirs indeed of God, but joint heirs with Christ, provided we suffer together, so that we may also be glorified together. So the bottom line is that if you don't have God's Spirit, if you've never felt God's Spirit in your life, then okay, you're still living in the flesh. You're still carrying out the desires of the flesh. Your mind is still on the things of this world, on the things of Satan. But if you have felt Jehovah's Spirit in your life, then you are a son of God or a daughter of God, because you are no longer condemned to die. You are living in the Spirit. You are led by God's Spirit. See, look at 14, and this is clear as day. For all who are led by God's Spirit are indeed God's sons. See, if you have ever been led by God's Spirit, Jehovah's Spirit, then you are Jehovah's son. You are in union with Christ. There's no other way. Unless that wasn't God's Spirit that was guiding you. And if it wasn't God's Spirit, then there's only another one that is a so-called God of this world. And you know what his name is. So therefore, could it have been Satan that was guiding your life? That's a very serious thing to consider. And to seriously consider what the Jehovah's Witness leaders are claiming when they say that the New Testament does not apply to us, does not apply to you. And see, this was one of the reasons, Romans was one of the things that always bothered me when I was an active Jehovah's Witness. That how is it that I could be led by God's Spirit, but yet I wasn't a son of God? That always bothered me. And I thought that can't be. Because you're either going to have God's Spirit or you're not. It's that simple. So, if you've ever been led by God's Spirit, you're a son of God. If you've never felt God's Spirit in your life, never, then you are a child of Satan. And I say that with all due respect to all my Jehovah's Witness friends, brothers, and those that may be studying with them. Be careful, because the Jehovah's Witness leaders are twisting the scriptures here to suit whatever they feel like teaching, because that's not what the scriptures teach. Please, don't believe me, believe the scriptures, I always say. I thank you for joining me today. We're going to have a week full of videos, so stay tuned and be sure to share this video with all those that you may think may be interested, or maybe even thinking about studying with the Jehovah's Witnesses. God bless them. God bless my Jehovah's Witness brothers and sisters that are trying to see the light of Christ that is illuminating and is starting to come through. I pray for you. I pray for everyone so they can find Christ and let Christ find them. Have a wonderful evening. May God bless you.